Welcome back to the underground. Let's look at what everyone refuses to see. The wind howls across the grey slate of Barnhill, a stone farmhouse clinging to the edge of the world on the Scottish Isle of Jura. This was where George Orwell retreated between 1947 and 1948. He came here to finish a book that would consume the remaining marrow of his bones. He was coughing blood into tin cups while hammering keys on a battered typewriter. Physical decay and psychological terror were locked in a quiet, vicious race against time. Out here in the salt-stung isolation, surrounded by roaring whirlpools and jagged peaks, Orwell was not merely inventing a dystopian fiction. He was pulling down a curtain. Let us step back just a few years in psychological time. Across the continent, in Zurich, another brilliant mind was mapping the hidden architecture of the human abyss. Carl Jung published Ion in 1951. In its pages, he laid bare the terrifying mechanics of the shadow archetype. The shadow is everything we refuse to accept about ourselves. It is the repressed darkness, the unlived cruelty, the suppressed madness that dwells beneath the polite surface of the ego. And here is the crucial mechanism that binds Jung and Orwell together in the cold Scottish mist. When individuals cannot bear to look at their own internal monsters, they project them outward. Think of the 2 Minutes Hate in 1984. Think of Goldstein on the telescreen. A roaring sea of citizens screaming at an enemy image. That ritual was never about Goldstein. Goldstein was a blank canvas. He was a convenient psychological dumping ground for the collective darkness of Oceania. Jung understood this better than anyone. Societies externalize their internal corruption so they can wage holy war against an outside evil while remaining blissfully blind to their own. Orwell watched this happening across Europe in real time. He saw totalitarian states mobilizing mass psychosis by manufacturing permanent enemies. He realized that the dictator on the poster, the piercing gaze of Big Brother, was not an alien conqueror dropped from the stars. Big Brother was a mirror. He was the authoritarian shadow of the average citizen magnified 1,000 times over and reflected back through a glass screen. Think about the bleak reality of Orwell's final months at Barnhill. As his tuberculosis advanced, his lungs filling with fluid, his external world shrank to the dimensions of a sick room. Yet within that confined space, his mind penetrated deeper into the totalitarian machinery than any political scientist of his era. Because he was fighting his own body while mapping the body politic. Jung wrote that until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. Orwell gave that psychological inevitability a political name. He called it Ingsoc. He called it the Ministry of Truth. He called it the permanent eradication of historical memory. When Winston Smith sits in the Chestnut Tree Cafe at the end, broken and re-educated, he has finally integrated the shadow. Not by choice, but by surgical extraction. The state took his internal darkness, amplified it, tortured it, and handed it back to him until he loved the boots stamping on his face. This is the terrifying legacy left behind in the salt air of Jura. Big Brother was never just Joseph Stalin, or Adolf Hitler, or any single tyrant. Big Brother was the latent shadow of civilization itself. Waiting in the wings. Waiting for the lights to go out. Waiting for us to surrender the burden of our own freedom. We build our surveillance states today not because governments are clever, but because our collective shadow demands a keeper. We invite the algorithm to watch us, because looking at ourselves requires a courage most are unwilling to summon. Orwell's grave lies quietly in the churchyard at Sutton Courtenay, far from the freezing swells of Jura. But his warning remains carved into the foundation of our modern digital panopticon. The screen in your pocket does not just watch you. It holds up a glass to the darkest, most compliant corners of your unexamined mind. Can we ever integrate the shadow before the machine does it for us? Or are we destined to replay Barnhill in the glowing theater of our own devices? Until next time, keep your mind your own. Farewell.